All right, we're live again, and welcome to another edition of the Nectar Brew Plant podcast with lessons with legends. And I love that. I love this introduction because everybody that jumps on has got a legendary status in one way or another. And Anthony Diclemente is no exception to that. Anthony, I'll have you introduce yourself. I really want to know what your background and of course that this helps with viewers, right? To get your background, where you came from, how you got involved in the space that you're in right now. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I think what really makes me and my approach unique is that I've studied a wide variety of different disciplines, and what I choose to do in certain situations in order to elicit a specific outcome as it relates to your body, your brain, your health in any facet is I choose the safest and most effective strategy, regardless of the discipline. So I've been exposed to this cross-pollination from functional medicine to nutritional neuroscience, certified NCSF personal trainer. I taught at one of the best personal training gyms in the country, David Barton. Taught yoga.
Yeah.
Actually, I was like, I just wanted to teach yoga, and I told them, they're like, "You got your certification?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I do." And they're like, "All right, we'll give you a practice class." And all I'd done is like a ton of P90X yoga and Tony Horton's like one-on-one yoga DVDs and stuff. And so I just like rearranged all the different clips in my head and used Tony's cues. And they're like, "You crushed that. All right, you're teaching yoga." And I taught yoga for 3 years. Actually told Tony Horton that when I was interviewing him for like one of the first episodes of the Biohacking Secrets show. He loved it. So that's, I studied a lot of traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, Western medicine, functional medicine, and homeopathy, everything, so that I have, in my opinion, the widest, deepest bullpen of tools. And then when a situation comes up, I can figure out, all right, what needs to be done here? What needs to be added or what needs to be subtracted, from this individual, and what's going to get them to where they want to go with the least amount of time, energy, and effort. And that's a lot of what we do. Whether that's helping a guy get a six pack, keep a six pack, stay under 10% body fat year round, build more of a look better naked. Basically, that was like David Barton's tagline back in the day, and it was pretty good. And then they went out of business. But guys want to feel like when they're walking away from their wife or woman that like they look good, when she's looking over from bed and they're walking to the bathroom, they know they look good,
Yeah.
and then of course we help a lot of people with health challenges. Yeah. I've worked with a ton of Olympians, 3 Olympic gold medalists, more Olympians than that, guys that won Stanley Cups like Duncan Keith and Jonathan Tays from the Chicago Blackhawks. And then entrepreneurs like Russell Brunson. I went and taught Peter Thiel's medical staff with Dr. Andrew Huberman, the Stanford professor of neurobiology, and Wim Hof. And that's enough about me. I feel like it starts getting a little bit breathy.
No, that is incredible. There was I don't know if this was true or not, but there was a rumor that and you might be the guy, so sorry about rumors, but that Brunson was able to fix his testosterone naturally without any TRT and stuff. Is that true? Do you know that?
Yeah. So he's there's always, we're always like, Russell loves biohacking and tinkering with his stuff. So he's always doing a number of different things. And we had done some stuff for his testosterone and even created a biohacking your testosterone course that was like a digital upsell with my book back, when we had that free plus shipping offer going on for the Biohacker's Guide. But recently he's got a guy that I think he's partnered up with as part of his Unfair Advantage company, where he'll take your blood and based on your blood labs, see that you have a wide variety of vitamin and mineral deficiencies and different things that are going on. And then he'll address those with vitamins rather than TRT. And I believe that's what Russell did.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But did he help you build your funnel for your book?
Oh, yeah. So Russell and I, he helped me build everything for Biohacking Secrets. I joined his mastermind a few years before that. We became good friends. He was on stage talking about how he was super fatigued and he'd come home at 6 p.m. He'd be just starfished on the carpet, wiped out. His kids would want to play with him. He's got 5 kids, felt like a shitty dad. And so I went up to him after one of our first masterminds in Boise, and I was like, if you need help with that stuff, I'll help you out. You know, we'll get everything straightened out. I'll take you to the grocery store, get you some food, explain why, what you're eating. You know, we kind of did like a full forensic analysis of what he was putting in his body and what his day looked like and everything like that. And then I took him to, he goes, yeah, let's do it today. Like, we're done at 5. Let's go right to Trader Joe's afterwards. And so I went with Russell to Trader Joe's, and we got him straightened out there. And then the next year, he just didn't charge me for his mastermind. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then, you know, we became closer and closer, and he hooked me up with some stuff. And then I was like, dude, why don't we partner on a company? It'll be fun.
Hell yeah.
And then he's like, all right, let's do it. Let's do Biohacking Secrets. And I was like, all right, what do I do? And he goes, write a book. And that was it. And I was like, just write a book. And he goes, yeah, write an awesome book. It's going to be our lead magnet. That's how we're going to get people in, and then we're going to give it away for free. And then I started working on the book, and that was it. You know, we stayed friends over the years. He helped build the funnel for the book, the funnel for high ticket coaching, helped film the videos and that sort of thing. And then, you know, I was off and running with it. And I'm actually going to see him on Friday. I'm flying out to, he's got his Category Kings mastermind and his Atlas mastermind that I think are like $100,000 a pop. And so he's got two groups for those. And so I'm going to hang out with him from the 11th to the 19th at Pirates Cove. This place, have you seen it? It's incredible.
That's not the
it's
one
like
down in Vegas or outside of Vegas?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. The guy that founded New Skin built it.
I know it.
And it's got like this 50-foot crow's nest you can jump off into a pool. Probably the scariest thing I've ever done. It's scarier than skydiving. No parachute, you know. All the rooms are like pirate. You hear the Pirates of the Caribbean theme song from the movie about 1,000 times. It's like if you got hazed in a fraternity, you'll have flashbacks of being hazed, just like forced to listen to the same song over and over again. But it's so fun. They got water slides. You sort of feel like you're in Peter Pan or something. And then I'm taking the two groups through a morning breath workout, mindset, and ice bath session. So we're doing that twice, 3 days for the one group, 3 days for the other group, and then just going to hang out. And Russell and I are talking about future projects and other cool shit that isn't being done in this space. And I think a lot's opened up these past three years. I think a lot of people were disappointed that certain agencies and individuals that they trusted didn't say shit or kind of played the middle ground where they're like, I don't have anything to say that hasn't been said. You got an opinion, motherfucker. You're afraid of losing money. You're afraid of pissing some people off. You know, I'd see that and I'm like, you're a slave to money, dude. And I think a lot of people now are like, all right, I'm sick of being lied to. I'm sick of needing to like feel like I'm keeping my head on a swivel. Like, are they trying to poison me through my food, through my water, through the air? You know, oh, Lululemon's got toxic forever chemicals in the crotch of their women's pants. What's that about? You know? Yep. So I think a lot of people are looking for true sources and they want information. They're sick of, I don't know. I think a lot of people are sick of being lied to.
I agree. And I was kind of reached out to by a bunch of doctors and during COVID. And they're like, how's things going? I go, you know what? This is the greatest time that I've ever been in healthcare because there is an open door on these people's heads and they're more than willing to listen now because they've been bought and paid for and they've been duped on this whole thing. And everything that was being told during COVID and everything now, obviously, that's coming out, it was totally a lie. And as you know, this is something I'm like, welcome to my 20-year journey. I mean, we've been seeing this for decades.
If you've been on this for 20 years, I commend you. You. That it's hard. It's hard.
It is.
My uncle figured it out when he was 6, and he's like in his low 70s. And I'm like, what was that like? And he goes, a lot of times it was sort of lonely. And he goes, I realized pretty quick I couldn't talk to people about it.
Yeah.
You know?
It either makes him.
He just knew. Wrong. He had the intuitive sense that stuff was bullshit. You know, so it's like you can't. He couldn't even go show somebody something. You know, a well put together video. you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you've been on it 20 years, tip of the cap to you. My 2020 was my like, they're full of shit. That was my
Yeah.
like click moment. You know, I wrote about a lot of it in the book. And then this was a moment where like, oh, so much of that shit is like intentional. It's not a lot of mistakes, you know?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that was kind of that moment for me.
How did you narrow down what you wanted to? I mean, there's so much out there as far if you take the global term of biohacking, but there's so much out there. What made you choose what you chose on the book to just say, hey, this is what I really want to work on? And I know you're passionate about, a lot of different things, but you're specialized in understanding some of the stuff that you gave me to kind of talk about here too. But what was your process? Walk me through that.
Are you saying getting to like calling the book The Biohacker's Guide to Upgraded Energy and Focus?
Yeah, I mean, but there's so much out there. There's so much data, and I get this from doctors all the time, or even patients, but people that we work with. They're just like they don't even know where to start. I loved your statement because I used that same statement in I was teaching a sports nutrition class to our local little group here, and I'm basically going through chemicals, and we're going through like the shit that they're eating and how the injuries and the fatigue and all these types of things. I said, but nothing else today. Just what can you take away? What one thing could you take away from your environment, your diet, and what one thing can you add? And you have to kind of keep it simple. And it's very easy in this space to get overwhelmed. But I guess I'm just curious on your book, like where to go, and I know this is how you work with people, and we do something similar. But walk me through that process.
Yeah. So a lot of it was my own journey. I went from
Okay.
being captain of the varsity soccer team in high school and all conference, and
Nice.
had opportunities to play at a variety of colleges, and then went on to play club ball at U of I, and we won the club soccer national championship my senior year. My buddy was the best player in the country on our team, so I had an athletic background, pretty healthy. And then 2011 just crashed, dude. Fucking depressed. Libido sucks. I was like, my digestion fell apart. Tired all the time. Horrible body pain. Saw 12 doctors over the course of a year. Everyone was like, I was in pretty good shape. I'd been doing like Insanity and Insanity Asylum and some of these really intense workouts. I could do CrossFit Grace in, I don't know, around 4 minutes plus or minus, like, that's floor to overhead clean and press with 135 pounds. But my health was falling apart. And like I said, saw 12 doctors. Finally, the 12th one was like, have you been checked for Lyme disease? Well, Lyme is like this, you get bit by a tick, you get bit by any variety of bugs, you can get this bacteria and a variety of bacteria and other pathogens and parasites, but the main one's called Borrelia burgdorferi. And and it can fuck up your life. Basically, it's very similar to syphilis. And there's other co-infections too. Bartonella is a big one. Babesia is a big one. So I turned out to have that. I had Lyme disease and a bunch of these co-infections,
Yes.
and it opened my mind up. Like, Lyme disease is known as the great imitator. The symptoms mimic like 200 other diseases and conditions. So all along the way, I think I've got adrenal fatigue. I think my thyroid's fucked up. I think I've got low T. I think I've got SIBO and Candida and all of these different things. And I'm learning how to fix those. So I started developing like a pretty high level of knowledge in functional medicine and some of those practices and the
Oh
diagnostic
yeah.
tools, because no one knew what the fuck to do. They'd all just told me I was fine. And then you get to a point where you're like, all right, no one's going to do this. I got to do it myself. That was
Yeah.
sort of the realization that I had. And I'd experienced improvement with those things, but it wasn't really until I went to the true root cause, which was this bacteria, that things really started to improve. I wasn't like treating symptoms with protocols. I was like, okay, the Lyme was weakening my immune system, which was putting additional stress on my body, which was taking energy and resources from building muscle and burning fat and digesting my food. Like, you know what I mean? My body was essentially losing electricity. That's what happens when we're stressed from infections, toxins, metals, mold, plastics, glyphosate, these herbicides and pesticides that are now implicated in Parkinson's and neurodegenerative diseases. We lose electricity.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
that simple. It's, our redox status gets fucked up. And that's what was going on with me. So I, built a whole bunch of protocols around that. And that made me realize how much these things that get brushed under the rug or are ignored or discredited in medicine, like Lyme disease, you were told Lyme disease is only acute in 2011. That was, and I would have all of these examples of people that had had chronic Lyme disease. I had examples of, oh, they were injecting motherfuckers in the Tuskegee experiments with syphilis,
Yes.
which when I went to Germany in 2021 and got to interview Dr. Friedrich Dawes, I was having my blood looked at like I did a live blood analysis. And the woman that I was talking to that's looked at thousands, they've helped 2,500 people with Lyme disease, 25,000 people with cancer using extreme whole body hyperthermia and way lower doses of chemotherapy and antibiotics than would otherwise need to be used if you didn't heat the body up to 107 degrees, right? So he found that the Borrelia burgdorferi bacteria that's responsible for Lyme is very susceptible to heat like syphilis, and it dies around 106 degrees. So if you heat the whole body up, including the brain, you can get rid of Lyme. That's especially important in people that are exhibiting neurological symptoms, because there are brain autopsy studies, some of which are out of Harvard, that show as many as 90% plus of Alzheimer's brain autopsies had Borrelia burgdorferi present. And I would imagine if they also started looking for Bartonella, we would see an even higher correlation, right? So these neurodegenerative diseases are multifactorial, but not the least of which it's very possible. And Dr. Friedrich Dawes believes that Lyme and some of these chronic stealth infections like Borrelia and Bartonella may be implicated in Alzheimer's. So we have to be looking at stealth infections, right?
Big time.
And so it just opened my mind up, and I was like, okay, so in working with people and helping people solve some of these things, I was like, usually I've come to the realization now, and talked about some of this in my book, that the biggest things that negatively impact our health are toxic metals, and those are in a lot of the shots that are given to children in increasing amounts. Toxins, like I've mentioned, the glyphosate, the herbicides, pesticides, atrazine that turns frogs,
Yeah.
from male to female. That's in our water. Fluoride, chlorine, bromine, all the other bullshit in our water. You got to have shower filters, and you got to be cleaning up your drinking water. The wireless electricity. Basically, here's a cheat code. If you own anything that has smart in the name,
Yeah.
it's very bad for your biology. That's the
Yes.
biggest cheat code. I don't know about smart water. That's the one maybe exception. But any electronic device that is called smart, if you have it on your home, it's fucking up your redox status. It's increasing your risk of neurodegenerative diseases, cancer, heart disease. And it's probably this is a little bit hard for people to swallow, so I'll say it gently, but it's probably part of a digital control grid that could be akin to a digital concentration camp if we allow and adopt central banking digital currencies, electric cars, smart everything on our homes, Neuralink in our brain, these chips in our hands. For, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are walking into a trap because they're not paying attention. So not only is this stuff not good for your health, but it's not good for your freedom if you're a freedom loving people. So that's the EMFs, wireless electricity side, smart tech. Deficiencies, infections like we talked about with Lyme disease, and then of course the lifestyle and behavior factors. So that's like the shit now that we're like, these are the things that usually interfere and that we dig into with our diagnostics. We look for the gene component too. And it was
Yeah.
because of me banging my head against a wall for a while.
No doubt. No doubt that it's incredible. So, we talk about, you hit quite a few different topics, and I had the pleasure. Well, I was reaching out to a few different doctors. Also, Dr. Russell Blaylock was probably one of my most influential books that I'd ever read, called Excitotoxins. But when we dove into, and he had a book that literally in the end of this book, he talks about that it's very probable that he would, once this book gets published, that he would lose his life. He was even down that path, but as a board certified neurosurgeon, and what he was doing with IV nutrition and stuff. Now, this book, I was going to try to grab it on myself and shelf and see what year. But anyways, I dropped
Grab
him
it.
an
I can throw some bullshit out there for the audience if you want to go get up and get it.
Well, I'll grab it. But one of the things that he was talking about all this, like, it's got to be 30 years old. I'll look at it. But he dropped me an email. he says, Todd, I'm too old to be on a podcast with you, but ask me questions.
What's that have to do with age?
That's what I said too. I was like, he's like, ask me questions. And so I'm like, seriously? So I dropped him like 20 incredible questions. And he just went through like almost everything that you were talking about. And then the only other thing that he added in there was, the known conspiracy about, these liners across and dropping all sorts of chemicals, but the nanoparticles, and he was relating those nanoparticles.
You're talking about like the chemtrails and shit?
The chemtrails. Yeah. And it's aluminum that fuses.
Fucking up the air.
Yeah, fucking up the air. So go.
Well,
go
and
with
trying
that.
to sneak metals into our body at every turn.
Oh shit. Well, and then like you said, I tell people, welcome to my 20-year journey. It's like the path that we went down to not vaccinate our kids and the shit I used to take.
Man.
Oh
nice.
man, it was. But you look at the sheer amount of thimerosal and the levels that was well above what it was like 10 times at the time that we were looking at, they were pushing our kids get vaccinated well over what the FDA would allow in an adult. And they're pushing all this shit in.
You put that in your mouth. You put that in your mouth. You have to call poison control. But then you inject it and bypass all of our detox systems. That's going straight to the brain. All we got to do, look like this is, I posted this the other day, and I was basically like, after close to 1,000 hours researching viruses, I've come across zero conclusive evidence that they are alive, that they replicate, that they are capable of infecting any living animals, including humans, that they can be accurately tested for using the PCR or any other available lab, or that there's ever been a successful vaccine produced that offers protection against any virus. I've seen no conclusive evidence. Yeah. People might agree, but I said I'm like, okay, please prove me wrong. I'd like to look. I genuinely like to look. I'm not like being combative. You know, like let's dig into this, because guess what? It literally is our fucking children.
Yes. And there's no efficacy.
It's not like
studies.
we got to quit the lip service of like, oh, let's make it better for the next generation. We got to take care of our kids. Okay, well then let's look at this. We're all smart enough. We don't have to outsource. We don't have to outsource the science. We have brains. We have intuition.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, it's tragic. It is tragic. And the execution.
It's exciting too, man. We have the opportunity to step outside of this system that sort of overplayed its hand. I think. I didn't even know I was in it.
We were playing a game. And I didn't even know. Oh, that's. Yeah, but to see it execute,
a lot was at stake.
Yeah, to see it execute and go full circle. It's crazy. It's crazy. You mentioned. Tell me about heat in the body, because that's new to me. And I should be up on. We treat a lot of Lyme's disease. And work with people with those co-infections. Our main things, like you said, electricity, but we're getting ozone. We do UVI, ultraviolet blood irradiation. So we take that blood, pass it through UV light.
I did ozone and UVBI yesterday.
Nice, which we know, right? So that UV light will heat up any of those, and they're 6 times more sensitive to light. It literally fries them and stuff like that. But that makes so much sense that you're creating a fever in the body, basically. Tell me about that experience, and I'll grab this book.
Yeah. So the first time with Lyme disease, I did a whole bunch of ozone as major autohemotherapy with UVBI, or ultraviolet blood irradiation. So it's this process where they take the blood out of your body, they put ozone gas into the IV bag, mix it with the blood. The ozone, which is O3, activates. It has like an activating immunomodulatory effect in the body, and not just on the blood that it was introduced to, but on it's like that blood sends signals to all the rest of your body and all of your immune cells. And it also has an oxygenating effect, but the main thing is it improves your immune system, and it can kill certain infections, and then increase blood oxygen saturation and all the good things that come with that from a mitochondrial energy production standpoint. So I did a ton of that. I did a lot of, there was a machine at the time that I wrote about in my book called the UVLRX, which is an intravenous light machine, and it would use different frequencies like green and red and purple to do similar things to the body. And a lot of the guys that played for like the Chicago Cubs and the Bears and the Blackhawks, they'd get hurt. And if, let's say they like an outfielder sprained his ankle, he'd go and he'd get 3 to 5 of these treatments of the UVLRX, and something that would take 6 or 8 weeks normally for him to heal from, he'd be back playing in 2 weeks.
Now,
these things would like,
is that with a cat? Were they in? Because I've seen those, and I actually just talked to somebody about from that company where they can do interarticular. So in between the joint, they put a catheter in there, and you're actually getting like red light into the joint. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, they do it. I mean, I did it right in my arm, like a normal IV, but they can't. There's so many different applications now. It's phenomenal technology. I talked to the owner, and I know he was getting shit from one of the medical mafia agencies that starts with F and ends with A. And then they ended up going out of business. Now there's still a company out of Germany that makes them called Weber. Weber. And my buddy, Dr. John Lawrence, has one at his place in Sarasota, Advanced Rejuvenation. And there's a number of those still around the country. When I was getting extreme whole body hyperthermia, I did a number of treatments with that too. You could elect to get that as well. And I'd always really liked that intravenous light technology and found it helpful. Particularly when I was having like cognitive issues from the Lyme disease. And I felt like it just really cleared up my brain. A tremendous amount of brain fog is EMF sensitivity and infections, and oftentimes like an interplay between the two, where like the EMF, the wireless electricity will actually increase the amount of biotoxins and endotoxins that are produced by bacteria and fungi and mold that might be in the body. So you gotta watch the metals, you gotta watch the EMF, you gotta watch the mold, because they all play off of one another and amplify the effects of one another. You know what I'm saying?
Do you know the mechanism?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Do you know the mechanism of that? Is it increased metabolic activity? Because I know obviously those things are releasing endotoxins, which are neurotoxins in the body. That's how they work. But the EMFs has a direct impact on that, or?
Yeah, so this was the study that was brought to my attention, was originally brought to my attention by Dr. Diederik Klingart. And I believe it was out of Sweden, and it showed that mold, when in the presence of like Wi-Fi, wireless radiation from our phones, from Wi-Fi, from the smart meters that are on our houses, etc. Everyone gets it. Increases the amount of biotoxins produced by about 600x.
No way.
And this includes the mold that is in your body if you've been exposed to a water damaged building. So now it basically is an irritant that floods your body and your detox pathways in your liver with all these extra free radicals. Now, then in addition to that, so that's like the effect that it's having just on mold, right? But similar with lipopolysaccharides and bacteria and candida, it actually causes the candida to go into this, I believe it's called a hyphae state. Candida takes different forms, like Lyme bacteria can go into a spirochete, where it can actually like take a corkscrew shape and burrow into the CNS and the cerebral spinal fluid and get into the brain and the muscles and evade our immune system, right? But then it can also be in a form that's much easier to go after, just like so similarly, fungi like candida can be in a form that's pretty easy to kill, or it can go to this hyphae form that then starts burrowing into the intestinal lining, causing leaky gut, causing intestinal permeability, causing undigested food particles and toxins to get into the blood, being a source of, causing an autoimmune reaction in the body, increased systemic inflammation, brain fog, etc. Right? So that change of the candida going into this more problematic, virulent form that actually starts ripping open the lining of our gut happens in the presence of EMF. So it's all interrelated. So much so that if you took out, just say you remove the people that are actively poisoning humanity, right? Like putting all the bullshit in our food and everything like that.
Yeah,
Minus that, like if you just said, okay, what true things affect our health the most, good and bad, electricity is on that list. And it's,
I agree.
I would really want to see with some of these other things removed, like how it compares to exercise and food. It might be more. There's fascinating research, like when the power grid was introduced to areas, the shift that occurred in all-cause mortality and a variety of different, heart disease, cancer, cognitive issues. They used to call it neurasthenia. It's chronic fatigue.
Yes.
They would call it neurasthenia and say it was a form of electrical illness. Well, now they just call it chronic fatigue, and none of the shit that addresses, what they think causes it actually works.
So like when we used to joke with yeah, your buddies and stuff like that, you'd be like, dude, did you grow up under power lines or what? It was actually,
Yeah,
it's
do you eat
actually
paint chips as a
legit.
kid?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's all legit.
Things we used to joke about.
Would you wear Lululemon? Did you wear Lululemon pants with no underwear?
I got some boxers
Like,
going
got
on in
my
Lulu.
my mini golden doodles got bigger balls than you.
No, so I got to mention this because you said this as far as I just it stuck in my head like shapeshifters, and I just interviewed Dr. West. He was a mentor of mine. He's got a rockin' clinic that does all these things in Pocatello, and he's taught on ozone. He's taught on all sorts of stuff. But he was like, I am pretty convinced. I can't prove it other than 20 years of clinical experience in this, but he goes, Lyme's is a shapeshifter. I don't know. He says this, I don't know if it's a version of Epstein-Barr that converts into that or looks like this and hides. But as you mentioned, those stealth infections, they're crafty. And that's why it's so hard to diagnose sometimes. But then compound that on the fact that these EMFs are 600 times. That's insane. That stat.
Yeah.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, I could even see if I could find it if you want, like while we're chatting. But yeah, with Lyme, I mean, I because of my story and having had it, I don't know anyone that helps people with Lyme that's had the shit twice. But long story short, we went up to our lake house in October 2020, and they were everywhere, ticks everywhere.
Yeah.
And I've had people call in and tell me stories where they've been driving like open, middle of nowhere, no trees, and have like multiple ticks land on their windshield. They're dropping this shit out of the sky. I talked to a guy that said he saw a dude releasing them in the woods, like actually going and releasing them. We've had our house there for over 20 years, 23 years, never had a single tick on anything, anyone, whatever. 2020, we go up there. Every time the dogs go out, they've got 10 ticks on each of them. My brother gets bit in his fucking neck. I got bit in my armpit and my groin. My dad got bit and went from, we were up there, even though he had Parkinson's, we'd been doing transcranial magnetic stimulation. He'd improved a ton. We brought his fucking golf clubs. Him and I were going to go to the golf course and play, 9 holes. He gets bit by the tick. He's using a walker the next day. He's in a wheelchair a week later. Never got out of that wheelchair. Like the tick bite and the toxins from that tick and everything else messed him up so much that he lost the use of his legs, basically. It's intense. And it's not just a bacteria, because I got bit that day and slept for 24 hours. It wasn't like Borrelia burgdorferi was introduced to my body and then multiplied so fast that it wiped me out. And Dr. Thomas Cowan spoke on this. There are toxins in the saliva of these ticks that are neurotoxic and can cause that immediate effect that so many people feel.
Well, we go down the rabbit hole. Do you think those are engineered?
For sure. Yeah. I think that, and when I asked in Germany, I'd love to look. People are my friends and everyone's like, you need to play the fence a little bit more. You need to be like Robert F. Kennedy, where he's asked Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They'll be like, he's asked something and he'll be like, well, I don't have eyes inside their brains, so I don't know for sure. And da, 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 da. I mean, the government got caught injecting people with syphilis in the Tuskegee experiments. In that case, African American people.
Yes.
They don't like Caucasians or Asians any more than African American people. Everyone gets this type of treatment. So they were telling people that they had a healthy vaccine for them and they were injecting them with syphilis, right? When I was in Germany and they were doing that live blood analysis, and they were talking about how the research on syphilis, so when they used to treat syphilis, they would actually give people, I don't know if it was malaria or another type of infection, but they would give them a lesser infection to initiate the body's increase in temperature, and that would kill the syphilis, right? Because they found the syphilis couldn't handle temperatures over like 106 or so, or maybe it's 106.8, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was then they had a couple women that were at this clinic, St. George, with cancer and Lyme disease. And they were like, to be honest, the symptoms of my Lyme are worse than the cancer. So they went there for this Lyme treatment and found, or I'm sorry, they went there for this cancer treatment. And then all of a sudden their Lyme symptoms were gone. So then Dr. Dowse, who runs the clinic, went back, saw these old studies and how they used to treat syphilis, started applying them. And then now, you know, when I was there, it was 2,500 people that they'd helped with Lyme disease. And as I mentioned, 25,000 with a variety of different types of cancers. When I was doing the live blood analysis, I said, okay, so let's say you're looking at my blood and in my blood is some syphilis bacteria and some Borrelia burgdorferi, the Lyme bacteria. How do you differentiate between the two? She goes, you can't. They look identical.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, okay. So they've already been caught introducing pathogenic bacteria into people through the vaccines in Tuskegee. We know that there's been a whole bunch of other bullshit. The tetanus vaccine's a sterilizing agent. They've admitted that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
A lot of the people that have had Lyme disease have no recollection of ever being bit by a tick. I'm not making any accusations. I'm just stating facts right now.
Yeah. Huge.
You know? And then there's Plum Island. There's a narrative around Plum Island where they were doing weapons research and that, you know, it escaped and the ticks got out and blah, 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 blah. And yeah. And then there's a lot of intel where, you know, a lot of people that are working in close proximity in these spaces, they'll share things with me, you know, where I'm like, hey, I can't prove that, but I was told that. And, you know, it's from a credible source that I trust that actually cares about men and women and children, you know?
Absolutely.
So I don't know.
And
People can make up their own minds, but yeah, my kids aren't getting any of that shit. And yeah.
My daughter who just left, she's just got an IV and some MAH, auto hemotherapy, but her claim to fame is the first needle that ever poked her body was for an IV of nutrition, and it's
that is dope,
cool.
dude.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Very cool.
Like,
it's amazing. I'm very excited for this generation of kids whose parents didn't do that. What is possible? What's possible with access to this much information? What's possible when your pineal gland isn't all fucked up? When you haven't been poisoned, you know? Like they're gonna make us look like DOS.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, they're like, what, you guys can't do telepathy? Like, no, we got fucking 80 shots.
Yeah, it's just polluted.
It affects that. You know, we had to take them so that you guys wouldn't have to. It's quit making fun of the fact that I can't do telepathy.
Oh, but you know, anybody that's listening, I mean, if you are like, this is crazy, you know, you type in Lyme Island into Google and the first thing comes up is exactly
Plum Island.
Yeah. And so Lyme is Plum
Yeah,
Island.
there's books written on it. There's books. Yeah. Check out the book Bitten. Check out the book Lab 257. It's, yeah. I mean, because conspiracies are interesting to me. I try to only share the ones that like really check out, where if people have cognitive dissonance and they just shut down and they're like, he's crazy. Okay, I can't do anything about that. But if you're like,
you gotta go.
What the fuck? Is that actually true? Go look it up, you know?
Yeah. Well, they did. I mean, what's legitimate, they did have like an animal center where they were doing research for bio weapons of some sort. And that's legit. But all of a sudden you get down that rabbit hole and you got this virulent tick-borne disease, you know. So it's there. It's there. What do you do? What do you do for EMFs?
Yeah, but it's very fixable. It's very
Yeah.
fixable too.
Well, and just full circle, kind of all over the place. So, Health and Nutrition Secrets by Dr. Russell Blaylock at that may save your life. I mean, he goes right at it. His chapters go right after thimerosal and vaccines. He goes right after the gal, I think it was a state senator that authorized fluoride in water. I mean, and this was he published this back in 2002. But he had his excitotoxin book was probably about 7 years prior to that. That is a Bible on all these things of vaccines. But then he goes into how to survive bioterrorism, like literally when anthrax was coming around and all sorts of stuff like that. He's got nutritional protocols. So that just blew my mind with him. So I wanted to come back to that and just share that.
I like the sound of this guy.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. I will email you my questions and his response. You'll appreciate it. And I'll get those
That'd be dope.
Anybody that wants that stuff, just email me or message me on social media platforms. But back full circle. So what do you do to mitigate some of this EMF stuff? I mean, it's a world that, this shit exists. Our kids have it. It's in houses. You can obviously make some, decisions to get rid of that stuff. But, a balance of surviving on that.
Totally. So there's a few different things that I do. I've got a protocol that I jokingly call jet fuel, or if I think someone wants a more formal approach, I call it the Diclemente protocol, but jet fuel is more fun to say. And a lot of that is intravenous, intramuscular, and sub-Q injections based on the client's preference that mitigate and protect against the oxidative stress and free radical damage that occurs when we're exposed to EMFs. Okay. So basically, like voltage gated calcium channels, this is the work of Dr. Martin Paul, getting flooded with calcium ions, producing peroxynitrate and other free radicals that then damage our mitochondria and put additional oxidative stress on the body. And then you've got spikes in cortisol, suppression of melatonin, all that shit. So there's a few. We'll use B12 in the form of hydroxycobalamin or methylcobalamin. I'll use B1 thiamine injections. These are all injections I'm talking about. The oral stuff doesn't really do the same. The B1 thiamine, we have found, and you won't hear anyone else really talking about this, but the research is out there. Thiamine injections increase at a rate of 200 milligrams a week, increase dopamine production about 1,400%. Now we're in a world where people are starving of dopamine. So it's like the shit that I fix with clients, no one else is touching. Or I don't think even, maybe some people are, but I sound like a cocky ass right now. But I also am confident that like people aren't doing that. No one's paying attention to that shit. We use a number of different peptides that increase brain drive, neurotropic factor, and cognition and restoration of the brain. So like I was on a call earlier, I gave myself a shot of cerebrolysine, which is like a pork-derived peptide that has a lot of use in helping stroke victims and even reversing neurodegeneration. And that's part of a bigger protocol that I'll use and rotate different things like cerebrolysine and CMAX and C-Link and tesofensine. And I pick some of those for clients based on what they have going on. From a mitigation standpoint, my phone, like it's in airplane mode when I'm not using it. And I try to, even when I do use it and I'm going to be messing around on the internet, I have an adapter so I can take an Ethernet cord, plug it into a lightning adapter, and then put it on my phone and then still not have my phone transmitting. An easy thing that any of your listeners can do right now is you take your phone and you turn off Bluetooth, you turn off Wi-Fi in the settings, you go to cellular, then you go from 5G to LTE. And then you only turn on cellular, like from, when you swipe down, you only turn on cellular when you're going to be doing social media or like checking email and stuff. Your phone works for phone calls without anything on. So cellular off, Wi-Fi off, Bluetooth off, your phone still works and produces like 1/100th the radiation that it does, even if you just have cellular on, but especially if you have cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth on. Most people are just walking around with that. So like a person making a phone call that has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular on, that hasn't switched from 5G to LTE, what they're putting up next to their head, that's one of the people that could become a statistic where, oh, why is everyone getting brain cancer on the same side of their head that they use their phone?
Yeah.
Whereas the person that has evolved and adapted and listens to your pod and these types of conversations, they've turned off their Wi-Fi, their Bluetooth, their cellular. They've gone from 5G to LTE, and they probably still put their phone on the desk in front of them or on a little stand or something like that, rather than even holding it up to their body. Two completely different phone calls, even if they're the exact same time to the exact same person from the exact same place. Make sense?
Yeah. That's intense. Good data.
Computer is hardwired.
Yeah.
Computer's hardwired. We don't have Wi-Fi in the house. Actually, my dad's caregiver, my dad has pretty advanced Parkinson's, so his caregiver, I let him bring a Wi-Fi thing that he plugs in during the day for himself. But that's just like the past few days. We have no Wi-Fi in either house. It can be turned on, but it's off all the time. Everything's hardwired. So my computer, then it's a faster internet connection, and I can turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on my computer, so those aren't transmitting.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not sitting at a workstation all day getting that. You either remove the smart meter from your house, which sends a blast of radiation to the power company 2 to 6 times a minute. A lot of states have opt-out programs where you can just call, like Florida. I called when I lived there in Delray. I called FPL, Florida Power and Lighting, said, I want to be in your opt-out program. They charged me like $30. They pulled it, the one that transmits off my house. They put on one that doesn't transmit, and I paid like $10 a month, but that's not going through the house the whole time,
Yeah.
you know? And then that's like some of the big stuff. It really depends. I take each client through it and make their house where it's like, the closest thing to them being sleeping in the wild, primitive camping, sleeping on the ground, getting charged up like that. I try to make their house and their bed like that. And it's a little bit of a personalized approach. And it's a combination of mitigation strategies, taking the right shit that helps your body clear this stuff faster, and keeps your mind sharp, and then behavior patterns.
Well, I know it can be vast, but do you want to give, this might be a new concept for a lot of people. I was exposed to it in my undergrad. I got an undergrad degree in Colorado, small state school out there. And we had this hippie that would talk about EMFs, and it's like half or 2/3 of the class laughed him out of there, but it was something that rang true. And that was like 96, something like that. But, so
For sure.
maybe, maybe walk through
Research evidence. Like,
well,
what were some of the studies and things?
I think people, based on how you're talking, will probably, go with you on that. Obviously it's there and it's evident in our world and things like that too. But, that's,
and there's books. Mercola wrote EMF'd. There's hundreds of studies in there, if not 1,000 plus. There's overpowered. Dr. or Nick Pinot wrote the non-tinfoil guide to EMFs. So if people want to look it up, like there's the Ramazzini study, there's the Interphone study that showed, kids who got cell phones under 20 had a significantly increased risk of brain tumors. All the studies are out there. It's that big telecom knows that people will not allow them to put all of this technology in around their home, their neighborhood, the towers, their schools. They won't be allowed to do it if people know. So they have hundreds of billions of dollars invested in keeping you in the dark. And that includes hypnosis and mind control technologies to get you thinking that anyone talking about that shit should be wearing a tinfoil hat. And it's even embedded in Hollywood. They make Better Call Saul. They make his brother look like a loon and live in this metal house, and people have to put their cell phones in the mailbox before they could come in. So that's a character that makes people be like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be ostracized from society. You know what I mean? And totally. It's very, very intelligent how they shift and control the collective conscious. But I can tell you that this is the right side of history, and it's certainly the harder path. It doesn't make me more money. It doesn't make me more popular.
Yeah.
It's the truth, though.
Well, and I don't know the stats, but I'd love to look at on that. But my wife and I would. There's a lot of combinations of things, and I always tell this story of like, when you see these little kids with brain tumors, or cancers and leukemias, all these types of things. I'm always of that mindset of like, okay, you had two cells that came together and made this, so if those two cells weren't healthy, but this has to be a factor. I mean, I would love to see studies on the alarming rates of these tumors and things like that. Just because,
Here's one last thing that I'll leave you and your audience with that I think
yeah.
I think they'll enjoy. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. There's like a
Oh, you're
little bit of a
good.
delay, and then
Oh, yeah, you're good.
sorry about that. It's like fucking me up a little bit. But there's an article, and you guys can look it up. It's called "Why." So this is from June 2023, right? It's called "Why Are All Those Racehorses Dropping Dead at Churchill Downs?" Because since April 29th, they've all been wearing powerful wireless monitors called Stride Safe.
No shit.
The horses may be quote unquote vaccinated too. We're looking into it, but these new high-tech gadgets, the sort of thing that thrills Bill Gates, are likely the main cause of death, as Arthur Furstenberg, who wrote the book The Invisible Rainbow, explains. So if people want to look that up, why are all the racehorses dropping dead at Churchill Downs? The thing is called the Stride Safe, and that article was written by Mark Crispin Miller.
Wow.
And I think it's almost more powerful for people to connect those types of data points than for me to barrage them with studies where their eyes glaze over. Like, look at the world around you and make up your own mind. You're not going to be convinced intellectually. It's going to be your intuition and your higher self. Do what's right for you.
Yeah, no doubt. Can you rattle off some typical symptoms of EMF exposure? Stuff that people can watch for. I know
Fucking
that's
everything, dude. It's everything.
yeah,
Some people experience zero symptoms, then find out that they have cancer and
yeah,
leukemia,
yeah.
or a brain tumor. Some people, it literally gives them a heart attack,
Sure.
or for years or decades leading up to it, it's arrhythmia, heart palpitations, irregular heartbeat. Chronic fatigue is probably the biggest. Some people experience body aches. Many people experience difficulty sleeping, where they'll find if they're on their phone for too much time in a certain day, not even necessarily right before bed, just too much time throughout the day, it fucks up their sleep.
Yeah.
Either they have difficulty falling asleep, they have difficulty staying asleep, they wake up a lot throughout the night, etc. A big one, it is everything. It is the great imitator, which makes it difficult and really does put big telecom in a position where there's plausible deniability because it's so difficult.
Yeah.
But part of the reason that so many people are having blood sugar issues, diabetes, insulin insensitivity, wireless electricity, here's the pathway. Wireless electricity spikes ACTH and cortisol, the
Yeah.
stress hormone. So every time you're exposed to wireless electricity, your phone, this radiation, it spikes cortisol, which suppresses melatonin. So you're spiking the stress hormone, cortisol, decreasing what you need to sleep. You're also moving your nervous system from rest and digest into fight or flight.
Yeah.
And then of course, you've got the other things, but that pathway doing that, when it comes time to sleep, you don't have enough melatonin, which doesn't just help you sleep. That is the antioxidant hormone that goes into your brain and clears out beta amyloid plaque, tau proteins, some of the toxins that have accumulated throughout the day. Melatonin goes in there with your glymphatic system and cleans those out. So if melatonin is suppressed, it's not just that you ain't sleeping well, it's fucking up your brain.
Yeah. It's brain chemistry.
So there's this connection where people will start saying, man, my memory isn't that good. I'm not retrieving things the same way. It's they're either increased appetite. Oh, sorry. So just to kind of close that thought, ACTH, cortisol increases blood sugar in the blood, and this wireless electricity decreases cellular sensitivity. So your
Resistance.
insulin it makes you insulin resistant. So it's spiking ACTH and then cortisol, spiking blood sugar, and then making it more difficult for your body to shuttle that blood sugar into your muscle and liver because it is less insulin sensitive. It's more insulin resistant. What do you have there? Type 2 diabetes, possibly even type 1 diabetes in adults, where it's onset much later in life because we're seeing damage to the pancreas and these cells that produce insulin. And then you have obesity, and then you are offered semaglutide, the solution. Not, oh, you're fucking microwaving yourself and fucking up your cells, and here's semaglutide and everything that comes with that. Good luck.
Yeah. Don't fix the problem.
I think I've depressed everyone. Is anyone still listening?
I love it. I love it, though.
I told myself I was going to be more inspirational. You're fucking downer, bro.
Oh, it needs to be done, though. We have to break this cycle. I agree with you.
We are breaking it. We're breaking it.
It's exciting.
We are breaking it. It's just it's never been the masses. It's always been like 5 to 20%.
Yeah.
It's only it really only gets depressing if you like have this unreasonable expectation that we will be different than humans have ever been at any point in history. That's just nonsense. It's always been like 5 to 20% of people that are willing to change, and the rest of the people want their comforts. And they're like, I would actually just rather be comfortable than have the truth. So fuck off.
Yeah. I do not want to see it. I will live under my cell phone tower. Oh, well, shit, man. I know we're getting down about an hour, and I appreciate you jumping on. This has been fun and a lot of data. Just a last question for you. Where are you excited about going with what you're doing? The future of biohacking and tech and all this stuff coming down. What are you looking at? What are you focused on?
I'm really pumped. I picked up 65 acres in Western North Carolina that I'm pretty excited about. I don't know when I'm gonna, I want to have like a cool nature retreat there. It's like one of the only spots that's actual rainforest in the US.
Oh, wow.
I got multiple springs on the property. So like the best type of water that you can drink, just can drink it straight out of the ground. It's clean, it's structured, energized. I'm pumped about that. I just got I swapped my Jeep for a Chevy Silverado V8 that can pull like almost 12,000 pounds. And then I bought a dope camper, this 2022 Crossroads Sunset Trail that could sleep like 6 or 8 people. I'm excited. And then I've been listening to Matthew McConaughey's book. He's like one of one people in Hollywood that I think's like a dope motherfucker.
Yeah.
And like, just seems like he's got a really good heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure there's more. I'm just like, I like McConaughey. Seems legit. And he was, he's talking about in his, huh?
I said maybe just one more, but go ahead.
Yeah. There's not a lot of Hollywoods that don't seem like they're part of, they've taken oaths to the dark side. And it feels like we're living in Star Wars sometimes. He went on a trip all around the country and hung out at campsites and talked to people. I even saw this hilarious meme that this kid was like, his grandparents kept telling him that they met this awesome Hollywood celebrity, this famous actor, at their local bar. And he was like, he'd come over and hang out with them. And he's like, yeah, okay, right. They're like in their late 60s and stuff. And then they sent him a picture, and it was them hanging out on the couch drinking beers with McConaughey. It's like this old woman and this old man in their late 60s. McConaughey's sitting there smiling, like having a blast in their house,
That's badass,
so I'm like, you know what, that'd be dope. So the guy that sold me the camper, he told me there's this website called 1,000 Trails where you can get like unlimited camping to hundreds of different campsites. So I bought like Florida, Texas, North Carolina, I think South Carolina, Alabama, all these cool states in the Southeast region. And I'm like, I want to take this shit on the road. I want to do the podcast from the road, go hang out. Like a bunch of my friends and clients have been like, yo, come to come to Pensacola for, a few days, stay. We got a place for you. It'll be fun to hang out in person. Like I'm enjoying I thought I wanted this all digital business, like sell everything online, laptop lifestyle. It'll be like a Corona commercial for the rest of my life. And then I'm like, I'm a really social guy. I like being around people. I like the energy exchange that happens in person that can't be replicated on Zoom. No matter what anyone tries to tell me, that's bullshit. It's different in person. And I'm excited to bring more of what we do, working with clients, events, that sort of thing. I've got this mastermind with Russell that's like 9 days at Pirates Cove with 100 high-level entrepreneurs. I'm pumped about that. That shit charges me up. So I'm excited to do more of that. Take the camper on the road, do some cool work in North Carolina, got some cool business ideas and fun things that we want to bring to the forefront that I think will be a big part of decentralized medicine and empowering people to know how to take care of themselves and keep their mind, body, and spirit healthy and sharp and vibrant until they're, 80s, 90s, 150, wherever we shake out.
That's
and all that people can learn more about that by either going to Biohacking Secrets or just DMing me on Instagram at Biohacking Secrets or sending me a text to 847-989-3743 and seeing if the program's a fit.
I love it. And that's the best way for them to get engaged with you and work with you. You're taking on clients, if you will, or people to work with you on a regular basis.
Yeah, we're taking on some clients, and I'm actually doing a fun giveaway where we've got, a 6-month program and a 12-month program, and anyone that's like gets involved in the 12-month program, I'm going to do the first 3 people that get involved. I'm going to do a drawing, and whoever, joins the program, and we'll do a drawing, and one of them is going to win my Jeep. So I got a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, all black, leather, 4-door, and like no extra cost. Just picking the first 3 people that sign up for a 12-month program. I'm going to put their names in a hat in front of them, film the whole thing, and one of them is going to win my Jeep Wrangler Unlimited 4-door Sahara as a part of it too. So I don't know when you're releasing this, but your listeners could be a part of that too.
That'll be next week. Yeah, no, that's badass. So you transform your life and learn all sorts of cool data and maybe win a Jeep.
And I'm only doing it with 3 people, so it's keeping the odds pretty damn good.
Well, damn, those are good odds. I might give you a call on that.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, I love it. All right, brother. So, and
we got the podcast too. I got a podcast too. We're like, sorry, I'm shitty. I'm shitty at self-promotion.
Awesome.
Yeah, the Biohacking Secrets show. We've done over 300 episodes. It's always top 100 in a bunch of different countries around the world for health and fitness, and even like regular podcasts. We've had on Dr. Andrew Huberman, Stanford professor of neurobiology, Wim Hof, Tony Horton from P90X, John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From, like the best of the best in biohacking and health and human performance. I have them on, and it's a great resource and it's free. So that's at biohackerpodcast.com or biohackerradio.com or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can go subscribe to that and share it up with your fam and peeps.
I love it. Check it out, people.
Peeps anymore.
Peeps. That's right.
Peeps.
Just around Easter.
Not unless it's Easter time.
I love it. Yeah, check it out. Let's get on that podcast. Share it around. That's good data. And I look forward to seeing what you're doing, brother.
Cool. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you having me on. And guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, share it up. Send it to other people who would like it. And if people, if it would piss off some people, probably don't send it to them. But unless you don't like them, then send it to them.
Do it anyways. It's fun.
Yeah,
good conversation.
Anyways. Ruffle some feathers. Let me be the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. It's that guy that said it.
I'll be the messenger.
All right, Anthony. Appreciate it, man. And
all right, thanks, Todd. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk soon.